Good morning. It is my privilege as Student Council President to welcome you to this very special occasion, the commencement of the class of 2016. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. To our esteemed faculty and staff, to our parents and family members in attendance, and of course, to the IMSA class of 2016, welcome. This is a truly momentous occasion. It is the culmination of 4 transformative years and the start of many more transformative years to come. With that being said, let's take a moment to talk about bricks. I could tell you that bricks are typically made of clay and that their color is dependent on factors such as firing temperature and chemical content. I could tell you that bricks are an ancient building material that have been used for thousands and thousands of years. Or I could tell you that the effective limit on the width of a brick is set by the distance which can be conveniently spanned between a thumb and forefinger, usually about 4 inches. But as interdisciplinary and interesting as those discussions might be, I'm here to talk about something else, something perhaps a little more relevant. I'm here to talk about the stuff holding all those bricks together. Let me read you a definition from what is, as students, perhaps our favorite source, Wikipedia. Mortar is a workable paste used to bind building blocks, such as stones, bricks, and concrete masonry units together, fill and seal the irregular gaps between them, and sometimes add decorative colors or patterns in masonry walls. It's a decidedly unglamorous sort of thing. Usually, when people marvel over brick facades, they're probably more concerned with the rich red hues of the bricks themselves than of the pasty and sort of grainy material in between. And yet, without the mortar, you don't have a wall or a building. You have a stack of bricks ready to fall over at any moment. We come to IMSA unformed, unshaped. We are eager to learn and ready to become something, to set ourselves on the path towards a brighter future. IMSA gives us the bricks to build the foundation for success. Here, we have received amazing opportunities and new ways of thinking. From the classroom, to the residence halls, to the pastimes with which we fill our hours, we are given so many ways to grow. Each of us is handed blocks we might never have seen otherwise. Modern physics, linear algebra, Victorian fiction, lead, RSL, studco, hallmate, wingmate, roommate. Every brick is a chance to discover and a chance to explore. And each pushes us outside our comfort zone and makes us think critically and learn differently. By the time we leave IMSA, we are very different people from the naive sophomores that entered. Yes, the opportunities that IMSA gives us teach us the most incredible things, but it is we who have to fill in the gaps ourselves. At IMSA, we have all the tools we need to build something that will last a lifetime. Yet it's up to us to put those parts together, to apply ourselves, and to shape our being. And if I may, I'd say that the class of 2016 has done a pretty stellar job of putting it all together. We began this year with 206 students, and I'm proud to say that there are 206 students here on this stage. The connections that we have formed and the bonds that we have made have brought us to this point. We have cemented our friendship through struggles and triumphs alike, from late night essays to late night laughs. These connections are part of the mortar that defines us, just as much so as the deep thinking and analytical abilities. But what else makes up that mortar? Laughter, tears, study sessions and procrastination, pressure and worry, dedication, drive, passion. Every one of us comes out of IMSA having gained something different from our neighbor. Our walls are patchworks of this and that, and that's a good thing. It means that in creating our foundation for the future, we have put our own unique spin on, well, us. We build ourselves up, and now, years later, we have created something stunning. Along the way, we have received support from a vast network that propped us up and strengthened us when we needed it most. Our journey was not easy. Without the faculty, staff, parents, families, and friends along the way, who knows where we would have ended up. Thank you to every person who has stood behind someone on this stage. It took an army to get us here, and we are forever grateful. From the teachers who put up with us just to give us their gift of knowledge, to the parents who let their kids go 3 years early, to the residence counselors who are our role models and our mentors and our friends, to every other person along the way, thank you. Fun fact, this somewhat odd cap that we students are wearing, and which many of us undoubtedly struggled to put on correctly this morning, is nicknamed the mortar board, after the board used by bricklayers to hold mortar. It's a fitting image. We spent years toiling under the weight of high school. We stressed and crammed and stayed up into the fading hours of the night, balancing our responsibilities on what felt like a precariously thin platform. Years of labor have brought us to this day. Now, we can stop and take a breath. We can wipe our brows and look back and marvel at what we have built, what we have achieved. We can take that board with which we carried our struggles, and we can replace those efforts with a single tassel, a tassel that by the end of this night will be swinging from the opposite side. We have conquered the challenge. We've carried the burden, and we are all the better for it. In the end, IMSA is so much more than just a building. Others may never truly understand what it means to be a part of this community, but we will know. Years from now, we'll remember the thrill of Clash or the nostalgic warmth of Carnival. We'll remember late nights spent with best friends, and we'll remember what it felt like to belong. It's true. IMSA gave us the building blocks for academic and professional success, but it also gave us each other. And as we stand here as a class for the last time, I thank IMSA for bringing us together. Class of 2016, never stop learning and growing. Never lose that drive or that passion, and never forget what you have gained from IMSA. As we move on to another chapter of our lives, we will continue to expand our brick and mortar walls. We will gain countless more chances, and we will learn countless more things. It is my hope that we, as a class, will continue to seek out new opportunities, and I hope that we continue to find better ways of cementing it all together. Yet no matter how far we go, there will always be a part of us that belongs in a residence hall at 1500 Sullivan Road. And no matter how far apart we may end up, we can always find comfort in knowing that we have built something beautiful together. Thank you.
Class of 2016. I spent a lot of time not writing this speech. In the true IMSA fashion, I procrastinated for about 2 months until finals week began, and I couldn't push it off any longer. It's because it loomed over my head like the worst AmStud paper, wellness summative, and math project combined. It was daunting. How was I, a guy with pretty below average work ethic and very little experience giving advice, supposed to deliver an inspiring speech to my classmates? Well, I'm sure gonna try, so here comes the metaphor. IMSA is an extra large, deep dish cheese pizza. It can be a challenge to take on by yourself, but with the help and company of friends, it's gone in the blink of an eye. At first, it is enticing, but at some point, you take it for granted until you're down to the last few bites. And we are all sitting here together to savor that last bite, to treasure it forever in the company of friends, family, and the faculty that served us that pizza. I was hungry when I wrote this speech. And I'm hungry now for the next metaphorical pizza. All right, so that's enough of that. I don't think any metaphor I can give can do justice to what a crazy experience IMSA has been for all of us. We've made friends that feel irreplaceable. We've taken on challenges we never thought we could. We've grown as people. I see this in every one of my peers, and how far we've come is nothing short of amazing. Congratulations, class of 2016, for everything you've accomplished. The list of achievements goes on, but don't forget all the little things we students suffered through. We've overcommitted to clubs. We've gotten so close to getting 12 attendance points. We've started work impressively close to the deadline, or even after the deadline. Seeing everyone do these things so regularly has made me reevaluate what is possible. IMSA faculty, I want to thank you for putting up with us. Sometimes we were a real headache, but you've always helped us through it. And students, don't forget to thank your parents for letting you go 3 years early to give you a chance at the opportunities available here. No matter how rough things got, they let you stay, and that is something to always be thankful for. One of the most special things about IMSA is what a unique community we have. It's no exaggeration to say that most of our personal growth took place in the residence halls, where we were forcibly locked in with some of the people we would share our happiest memories with. That forced closeness is something a lot of us have come to resent as we eagerly await the freedom of college. But don't forget how much you loved it as a sophomore. The excitement of being surrounded by only your friends with no parents to yell at you to work or sleep, so you didn't either. Never forget the people you first hung out with before you met your best friends. And never forget the people that supported you in tough times. In college, you'll have a lot more freedom and you'll make friends that are just as amazing, but I don't think anything can compare to the feeling of belonging that we had in the residence halls. Graduating means that you're moving on to new, unfamiliar things, and the experiences you've had at IMSA have equipped you to handle whatever comes your way. Now, I'd like to share a story with you all. Growing up, I always enjoyed playing sports in the park with my neighborhood friends, even if I was consistently last pick. I loved the idea of joining a baseball team, but unfortunately, I wasn't anywhere near good enough. But when I first came to IMSA, I talked about this experience with a senior wingmate, and was incredibly surprised when he encouraged me to join the baseball team. Now, failure is an inevitable part of life. And let me just say that nothing better prepared me for crushing defeat than joining the IMSA Titans baseball team. Not to insult the team or the coaches, we tried our best, but there weren't enough experienced players. I had never played on a baseball team before, but somehow a few games into the season, I was starting in the field. To clarify, this did not mean I was good by any standard. It meant that we were seriously lacking players. There were 0 to 20 innings and too many injuries, but despite everything, we pressed on. I still remember the day I caught my first ball in right field. I remember the anxiety I felt every time the ball came toward me, and it almost never did. But that day was special, and the batter hit it straight at me, and I caught it. Well, I was so amazed to see the ball in my glove that I completely forgot about the game. And I started jumping and cheering. My celebration was cut short when a team member started yelling my name, and I finally noticed a player running to home base because I didn't throw it back to the pitcher. My parents and grandparents were at that game. That was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my IMSA career, and that's saying something. Now, while I still may not be the best baseball player, I learned a lot from the IMSA Titans. Each game wasn't about winning, it was about learning something. You may often hear the words great success, but I'd like to coin a new term, great failure. Great failure is making a mistake and trying your hardest to never make it again. Great failure is moving on from the past. And let me just say that my baseball career was one great failure. And so, class of 2016, my advice to you, in the face of adversity, be what I was that season. Hopeless, but determined. Make every failure a great failure, because the worst and best days of your life are still ahead of you. It's going to take everything you have to step from one to the next. By challenging you, IMSA wasn't trying to break you down. It was trying to build you up into something more stable, something that even the worst failures couldn't shake. And I know you can all do it because I've seen people work harder than they ever have in their lives, and I've seen people grow stronger, wiser, and happier. The future is scary and uncertain, but you'll always have friends to look to for support when times are tough. And when success does come, you hopefully won't stop what you're doing to celebrate. You'll smile and prepare for the next challenge that comes your way. Because that's what we do. That's what we have done. So go out there, class of 2016, and make every failure a great one. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sheila Griffin, and I have the honor of serving as chairman of the IMSA Board of Trustees. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I wish to welcome all of you to the commencement of our 28th graduating class. As a founding member of the board 30 years ago, I take great pride in honoring each class and in celebrating this special day with all of you. This is a long-awaited milestone for a remarkable group of young adults and for all who have invested in their academic, personal, and social well-being. Family members and friends, faculty and staff, and trustees, funders, IMSA ambassadors, and emeriti are all gathered here today to show you, our soon-to-be graduates, how very proud we are of you. This has been a remarkable year demonstrated by exceptional achievements by you, our graduates. We, as IMSA, have much to celebrate as a community while honoring each and every graduate. The board recognizes the commitment of IMSA faculty and staff, students and parents, alumni and educational partners, emeriti and ambassadors, and the state of Illinois, as well as private funders, for believing in IMSA's mission and supporting our work. To the class of 2016, and to all of you who are here today, pause and take a brief moment to soak it in and be proud of what we have accomplished together. I now have the honor of introducing our commencement speaker. Dr. Neil Shubin, Professor of Organismal Biology and Anatomy at the University of Chicago, is widely celebrated for discovering the fossil fish Tiktaalik rosei, a fossil fish also known as the fishapod and dubbed the missing link between fish and land animals. His research focuses on the evolution of limbs, and he uses his diverse fossil findings to determine how anatomical transformations have occurred throughout the ages. He has written and published 2 books, including Your Inner Fish, A Journey Through the 3.5 Billion Year History of the Human Body, and The Universe Within, Discovering the Common History of Rocks, Planets, and People. In 2014, Dr. Shubin hosted a 3-part series titled Your Inner Fish, which was aired on PBS. This series won the Science Communication Award from the National Academy of Sciences and also an Emmy. His research on anatomical features of animals has taken him all over the world. He has conducted field work in much of North America, in Greenland, China, and in Africa. As a result, he has discovered key transitional forms of many species. His work in molecular biology has also revealed some of the genetic mechanisms involved in the origin of limbs from fish fins. A John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation Fellow, Dr. Shubin earned a PhD in organismic and evolutionary biology from Harvard University in 1987. He joined the University of Chicago faculty as chairman of organismal biology and anatomy in 2001. He is a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science and was elected a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences in 2009 and a member of the National Academy of Sciences in 2011. In his book, The Universe Within, Discovering the Common History of Rocks, Planets, and People, Dr. Shubin wrote this: each galaxy, star, or person is the temporary owner of particles that have passed through the births and deaths of entities across vast reaches of time and space. The particles that make us have traveled billions of years across the universe. Long after we and our planet are gone, they will be part of other worlds. It is with great pleasure and profound respect that I introduce Dr. Neil Shubin.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Congratulations, class of 2016, and all the people who've made this possible, family, friends, and teachers. As I think about your success and what I could say to you on this day of transition and celebration, I have to look back on the start of my own career in science. And we've heard about failure. I'm tempted to categorize my start in science as a complete and utter disaster. But that would be generous. I grew up wanting to find fossils, much like the dinosaurs you see in the museum. So I entered graduate school to study paleontology. During my first year as a student, I received a huge opportunity. I was one of the invitees to a field expedition headed to the deserts of northern Arizona, a land of mesas, buttes, and barren red rock. Exploring those rocks was the goal. We were sent there to find 200-million-year-old fossils. Typically, fossils just erode out of rock, so you spend days walking and scanning the surface for fossil bones and teeth that are eroding out as they emerge. Not knowing a thing about finding fossils myself, I shadowed one of the seasoned veterans on the team, a man named Chuck, who had spent the better part of 40 years on expeditions of one kind or another. Chuck was generous with his time, and for days we walked the vast plains together looking at rocks on the surface. For several weeks, Chuck talked and picked up fossils at our feet, while I found absolutely nothing. I returned home each day empty-handed. Where Chuck saw bones, all I saw was dirt and rock. With the growing frustration of each passing day, I remember asking Chuck, how do you find bones? What do they look like? What kind of cues do you use to recognize them? He tried to describe his methods, but for the life of me, I could not understand him. And to add insult to injury, he was picking up bones, sometimes with my boot print right on top of them. This is true. I was literally walking over and crushing fossil specimens every day. So it was not a very promising start. But then one day I saw it, a brilliant piece of bones that sparkled in the light. It was a tooth, and the way it glittered was different from every other rock I had seen to that point. As I looked around, I saw more teeth and more bones. Suddenly, it was as if the entire desert floor opened up in front of me, like I was wearing a new pair of glasses. Bones were everywhere. The fossil turned out to be a jaw of an ancient mammal-like animal, one of the earliest mammals in the fossil record. And this was the first time I had seen bones on the surface, but I've actually been seeing them for weeks. What was mere rock to my eyes just a few days before was now fossil bone. So what changed in that instant? The thing that changed was my ability to see. I had learned to find fossils by seeing objects around me in a whole new way. Now, I do the same thing every time I go to a new place. I have to relearn how to find fossils, but I have the confidence to do it. I have to learn to see with each new expedition, each new experiment, and everything I do. Physicists can tell you a lot about light, lenses, and color. Biologists can speak about how light travels through the different structures of our eyes and how nerve impulses carry the signal to different parts of our brain. But seeing is much more than optics and vision. What led me to Arizona and all those deserts and other remote places over the years and the 30 years since is a much more profound way of seeing. We use the phrase, "I see," when we understand something, when an observation's meaning becomes clear, or when we come to agreement about an interpretation of our world. This type of seeing derives from the ideas that shape the ways we learn and interpret our world. At any given time, our own seeing, our own understanding, is derived from thousands of years of people challenging existing thought to look at the world in a whole new way. What is utterly obvious today would have been bizarre to previous generations. And of course, some of our own cherished truths will be seen as bizarre notions to those in the future, those future generations. My own field is a case study in how ways of seeing have emerged over time. People had looked at rocks for hundreds of years, even thousands. Our ancestors made tools out of rocks and used them for shelters. They even dug through them to mine ores and minerals. And during all this digging through rock, people saw things that looked like shells, teeth, and bones. But what was their meaning? For most of recorded history, these objects spilling out of the rocks were thought to be no different than the rocks themselves. They were just rocks that happened to look like teeth and bones. The whole concept of a fossil, so utterly familiar to everybody who goes to a museum today, did not exist. And you know who changed that view? Leonardo da Vinci, and a few other people at the time changed that entirely. Leonardo saw that the teeth and bones that they found in rocks are seen in layer after layer of rock, and that many of these teeth and bones are versions of creatures walking the earth today. Da Vinci, Leonardo, proposed the radical notion that those teeth-like objects and bony-looking things jutting out of the rocks aren't just malformed rock. They are the remains of long-dead animals. In this view of the world, these things aren't just bizarre mimics. They are the bits and pieces of once living creatures buried inside the rocks. People had looked at rock for years, but it took Da Vinci to really change the way we see them. Armed with Da Vinci's views, people found fossils from all over the world. Fossil after fossil was described, but it would take still others to see these fossil remains for an even deeper meaning, as evidence of lost worlds. These new ways of seeing were only a prelude to a much more powerful idea. The reality of fossils and the fact of extinction were grist for Charles Darwin. To Darwin, these different insights were really part of a fundamental new way of seeing the world. He proposed that species are not fixed, they evolve, they go extinct. He revealed that the creatures on the planet today, us, share a history. Just as our families have a history described by our family tree, our parents and our grandparents, so too do species. And this family tree that we have extends to other life on Earth. So great were these insights that we call the fruits of them the Darwinian Revolution. Why? There was a way of looking at the world before Darwin's ideas and a whole new way of seeing it after. Before Darwin, species were considered to be immutable. And after Darwin, all species considered to be ephemeral, changing, and mankind but one of many forms of life in a great family tree encompassing all life on our planet. With a single insight, creatures as seemingly different as birds, mice, and people were revealed to have a shared past revealed by the structures in their bodies and the fossils in the rocks of the world. My own way of seeing this can best be told through my teaching at the University of Chicago. I am in what used to be the anatomy department, and one of our main teaching duties at the Pritzker School of Medicine was teaching the human anatomy course. This is the classic course of the first year, where our students see the structure of the body and memorize names of every muscle, nerve, bump, hole, and bone. It can be very stressful because the sheer amount of material is huge, but also the fact that we learn this mostly from the dissection of human bodies. Consequently, it is a very intense and emotional experience for all of us involved. Students form images and friendships that often last a lifetime, much like IMSA. I remember those days, first days in the course. Students wanted to learn about me. They'd ask me, what do I do? What kind of physician am I? They'd ask, Dr. Shubin, are you a surgeon? Are you a cardiologist? My answer is, no, I'm a fish paleontologist. The look on their face was really something like, I want my money back. At first glance, you couldn't have imagined a worse candidate to teach future doctors. But within weeks, it became clear that being a paleontologist, and not just any paleontologist, a fish paleontologist, is a powerful way to teach and learn human anatomy. Why? Because the best and simplest roadmaps to our own bodies are often seen in other creatures. The nerves inside our head are a complicated jumble that only makes sense when you compare them to the simpler state of affairs in sharks. The basic structure of our bodies, including the DNA that builds them, is seen in fish, worms, and flies. The best key to understanding ourselves lie in the fossils, genes, and embryos of other creatures. In fact, these connections will help define our future. Just look at the Nobel Prize in medicine and physiology to ask what types of medical research have been honored in the past 17 years. The Nobel Prize has gone to people working on yeast, mice, flies, sea slugs, and sea urchins. It has gone to people, in fact, 2 Nobel Prizes have gone to 5 people in the last 9 years who work on a tiny little worm the size of a comma on a piece of paper. Yet that simple and tiny worm is providing insights into how our cells die and to how our DNA can be turned off in health and diseases like cancer. I like to think that as we discover cures to everything that ails us, from Alzheimer's to different cancers, that the breakthroughs that will make our lives better will originally be derived from work on worms, flies, and fish. I can't imagine a more powerful or more beautiful statement on the importance of our connection to the rest of life on our planet than that. And how did this come about? It came about by people looking at their world, just like you IMSA students, challenging existing views, which you need to do, and learning to think and observe in new ways. With each new observation, with each new person challenging existing dogma, we come to see and appreciate all the surprising and wonderful things that are right under our noses. The power of great ideas reminds me of that day walking with Chuck about 30 years ago. One moment I was looking at rock, and the next, the desert floor opened up to reveal bone after bone. The same is true with great ideas. They become lenses to make us see our familiar world in a whole new way. I hope that your time at the Illinois Math and Science Academy has enhanced your appreciation of the beauty and power of great ideas, and in the process, cultivated your ability to see what is important to you, to understand the meaning of what you see, and before you get too comfortable, to challenge your own ways of seeing. Congratulations, and bonne chance.
Dr. Shubin, thank you for your remarks today. After the ceremony, we will present you with a token of our appreciation for your time, for joining us on this very special day for our graduates. So thank you.
Good morning and welcome, family and friends, and congratulations to the class of 2016. Today marks the end of your 3-year journey at IMSA and the end of my first year. You have a couple of years' experience on me. Yes, I am more or less like a sophomore. At your 2-year reunion, check back with me and we can compare notes. In all seriousness, I want to take a few moments to have you ponder how you are going to define your success. You may not have given this much thought, but yes, you get to set the metrics for your success. Given your 3 years of inquiry-based learning, I am confident that you will in fact solve this problem. Maybe only moments before it is due, but solve it you must. In order to get you started, I offer one measure for your consideration. One given by the artist Beyoncé in her song, I Am Here. I know, you didn't think I was that cool, did you? I'm not really. I would encourage you to listen to the entire song, but for now, consider the following lines. I want them to know that I gave my all, did my best, brought someone to happiness, left this world a little better, just because. I offer you this measure because it sums up a philosophy in which I believe, and one I hope you will consider. When I ask myself, how'd I do today, or this year? I really ask, did I give it my all? Did I do my best? Is someone else better off just because I am here? My assessment is related to the answers to these questions, not the results. We've heard a lot about failure this morning, and I too will admit that my path to this podium was not a straight line. As an example, in my freshman year in college, I received a BC in an introductory English class. Please forgive me, English faculty. I would be lying if I did not admit I was a bit disappointed. But I knew I had given it my all and done my best. What else could I do? I did not let this one course grade define me. In the end, I did successfully complete my undergraduate studies and went on to grad school. Today, we celebrate the successful accomplishments of the class of 2016. You have worked hard, and for many, there have been moments when you have been disappointed in your performance. In the end, you did not let it define you, and you persevered to get to today. Well done. In closing, I challenge you to determine for yourselves, how will you know if you have been successful? In other words, how will we all know you were here? Mr. President, it is my honor to present to you the members of the class of 2016, all of whom have gone through a rigorous course of study. Today, the class is prepared to receive their medallions.
Thank you, Dr. Dale, IMSA Board of Trustees, Professor Shubin, staff, including faculty, parents, family members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and class of 2016. Welcome. Today is the culmination of years of hard work, and you're just a few minutes away from receiving your diplomas and medallions. Knowing all that you know today, I wonder what you would have said to your younger self 3 years ago. Perhaps you would have said, don't sweat the small stuff and keep your perspective. You might have said, look, you're going to face some difficult, challenging courses, and you're going to work harder than you have ever had to work before. You might have said, don't give in to the temptation to compare yourselves to others. Compare yourself to yourself and see how you will grow, mature, and learn. Above all, keep your perspective with what life may bring to you. I'd like to read you a letter that I have had for 20 years. It's a little dated, but it does speak to the idea of perspective. And it's from a daughter to her mom and dad, and she said, "Dear Mom and Dad, it has been 3 months since I left for college. I have been remiss in writing, and I am very sorry for my thoughtlessness in not having written before. I will bring you up to date now, but before you read on, please sit down. You are not to read any further unless you are sitting down. Okay? Well then, I am getting along pretty well now. The skull fracture and the concussion I got when I jumped out of the window of my dormitory when it caught fire shortly after my arrival are pretty well healed by now. I only spent 2 weeks in the hospital, and now I can see almost normally and only get those headaches once a day. Fortunately, the fire in the dormitory and my jump was witnessed by an attendant at the gas station near the dorm, and he was the one who called the fire department and the ambulance. He also visited me at the dormitory, and he was kind enough to invite me to share his apartment with him. It's really a basement room, but it's kind of cute. He is a very fine boy, and we have fallen deeply in love and are planning to get married. We haven't set the exact date yet, but it will be before my pregnancy begins to show. Yes, Mother and Dad, I am pregnant. I know how very much you are looking forward to being grandparents, and I know you will welcome the baby and give it the same love and devotion and tender care you gave me when I was a child. The reason for the delay in our marriage is that my boyfriend has some minor infection which prevents us from passing our premarital blood test, and I carelessly caught it from him. This will soon clear up with the penicillin injections I now taking daily. I know you will welcome him into the family with open arms. He is kind, and although not well educated, he is ambitious. Although he is of a different race and religion than ours, I know that your oft-expressed tolerance will not permit you to be bothered by the fact that he is different. I am sure you will love him as I do. Now that I have brought you up to date, I want to tell you there was no dormitory fire. I did not have a concussion or a skull fracture. I was not in the hospital. I am not pregnant. I am not engaged. I do not have syphilis, and there is no fiancé in my life. However, I am getting a D in science and an F in sociology. And I wanted you to see these marks in proper perspective. Your loving daughter. So this fictional letter makes the point to really take things in perspective. The second thing you might have said to yourself is be curious, try new things, and don't be afraid of failure, which seems to be our theme this morning. You might have said, make sure to try out for extracurricular activities, start or join a club, join the baseball team, learn new stuff and fail at something. For goodness sake, fail and learn something. We learn more from failures than from our successes, as has been shared this morning. I recently heard on NPR's morning edition a segment called When a Resume of Failures Becomes a Recipe for Success. The segment is based on the professional setbacks of Johannes Haushofer, a scientist and professor of psychology and public affairs at Princeton. To encourage a friend who seemed dejected, Professor Haushofer put together his own resumes of failure. On his way to getting a PhD in neurobiology at Harvard and doing his postdoc at MIT, he didn't get into the PhD program in economics at Stockholm School of Economics, the graduate course in medicine at Cambridge, the graduate course in medicine at UCL, et cetera, et cetera. Ironically, his resume of failures has become a huge success. According to Melanie Steffen, author of an article in Nature that inspired Haushofer, you will experience 6 failures for every success that you have. Therefore, your resume of failures will be 6 times larger than your regular resume. Perhaps based on the past 3 years, you would say to yourself, fail at something and learn from it. So class of 2016, here's some advice as you look forward to the next several years of your life. See if it sounds familiar. Don't sweat the small stuff. Take the long view and develop perspective. And number 2, be curious, try new things, fail at something, and learn from it. Let me wrap up my remarks by thanking each of you for your commitment to IMSA. Class of 2016, consider all that you have gained from IMSA and pay it forward, as I mentioned last night. Give to the IMSA Fund so that future generations of Illinois students will also have the opportunities that you experienced at IMSA. And as you graduate from IMSA, engrave our mission statement in your heart and soul, igniting and nurturing creative, ethical, scientific minds that advance the human condition. Finally, some of you know that one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Leon Letterman is titled, Enrolling in Our Possibilities. The quote is in our program, so I won't recite it, but I urge you to consider the phrase, in some way, significantly influence life on our planet. Significantly influence life on our planet. Class of 2016, go and do likewise. Thank you. Thank you. And now it brings me great pleasure. It is my great honor to accept the class of 2016. By the authority vested in me as president of the Illinois Mathematics and Science Academy and on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the state of Illinois, I accept these students as graduates of IMSA and proclaim them as worthy to receive their diplomas and medallions.
We would like to be recognized as a class and realize that you want to recognize individual students. However, in keeping with the formal nature of this special ceremony, honoring the class of 2016, and in the interest of the dignity of the program, please hold your applause until all members of the class have received their diplomas. Cristal del Carmen Quiñones Gonzalez. Heidi Dong. Akshay Verma. Amber Geneva Acquay. Isaac Adorno. Deborah Aloacheon Agoye. Niharika Agarwal. Harith J. Alapat. Arun Arjunakani. Aman Sanjay Asija. Jake A. Bale. Mobology Olufemi Benkoli. William Lewis Bauer. Melissa Bayer. Jyotsna Bitra.
Joshua Adam Burke. Lauren Louise Bystrom. Jamie Lee Candler. Xiomara Felicia Cardona. Grace Lyndon Carlberg. Enrique Cervantes. Hannah S. Chadha. Rakesh Chatra. Catherine Yi Chen. Jason Honglin Chen. Kevin J. Chen. Gloria Unyoung Choi. Esther Suin Chung. Tyler Martin Clough. Caitlin Faith Coltharp. Benjamin Rajesh Cooper. Daniel Joseph Costa. Maya Strongheart Costales. Nicholas William Damon. Tiffany Ding. Sarah M. Dovgan. William Cartwright Drennan. Matthew K. Dias. Sarah Elizabeth Eaton. Christoph Franz Tykert Eckrich. Drake Thomas Adukas. Alec James Elston. Meredith Podluski Embry. Chase Rylan Engelbrecht. Aaron Ann Angstrom. Kevin Seamus Angstrom. Nathan Rohan Arampali. Reed John Ficus Jr. Ethan Michael Stanley Fisher. Hannah Marie Flatness. Cecilia Gangaretti. Zadie Garcia. Angad Garg. Alice Gong. Crystal Gong. Jonah Avery Goffner. Sachin Govind. Paxton J. Greco. Jonathan Guo. Ashu Gupta. Bonita Gupta. Kushigara Gupta. Rajangad Singh Gurtada. Skylar Ursula Harris. Ethan Jacob Heydrich. Faith Alexandra Hill. Kevin Joseph Hinterlong. Cindy Ho. Daniel John Hawley. Cameron Joseph Hudgens. Nicholas Andrew T. Innocencio. Varun V. Iyer. Joseph Abinya Jaguza. Gabriel Elias Jankowski. Divya Lakshmi Jasti. Emily Catherine Jaw. Kirsten Ashley Johnson. Miranda Rose Kalinowski. Sophia Laura Cardati. Devdi Kasana. Shaneri Ma'at Kamet. Ashley Lynn Curley. Andrew H. Kim. Jean U. Kim. Trinity Daniel Bria Klachewski. Joshua J. Kleinman. Camden Wansuk Ko. David Christopher Kodama. Vedic Kodavadaganti. Jin Paige Komerska. Violet Jean Konopka. Naresh Trishan Kuganaswaran. Arun Kumar. Fiona M. Kurewovich. Sarah Elizabeth Leahy. Kyle Anthony Unabia Liano. Angela Lee. Isabella Lee. Faith Elizabeth Leslie. Hope Marie Leslie. Jiaobao Li. Alan S. Liang. Angelina S. Liao. Julian Alexander Cooley's Litvak.
We would like to recognize our classmate, Michael David Etzkorn, who is unable to be with us today. Andrew James Adams. Joseph Ali Longo. Tony Liu. Kamita Amina Mallory. Julian Evan Matthew. Sabrina Lynn Matthews. Emuna Bat-Moriel McClurkland. Liam Butler McParland. Samantha Medina. Noor Sultan Michael. Nicholas Charles Machuda. Neil Ankur Modi. Luke Andrew Moricle. Sarah Anna Moo. Naima George Muckham. Alexandra Luminitza Morales. Jose Trinidad Murataya. Manognia Namaduri. Eleanor Mary Nodges. Paul Justin Nebrez. Christopher Zachary Nee. Keelan B. O'Brien. Rosaura Ocampo. Stephanie Monique Ochoa. Charmaine Y. Ong. Justin J. Orr. Arthur Alejandro Ortiz. Ariana Lee Osar. Michelle Soo-hyun Park. Song Won Park. Kyle Fitzgerald Parker. Khushbu Suresh Patel. Vishal Shah Patel. Abigail May Paul. Milutin Petrovic. Jessica Lu Fung. Sahiti Pidaparti. Michael Chien. Samuel Huang Chien. Joy Helen Chu. Nathaniel Adrian Rabidou. Narain Adik Radhakrishna. Ashrita Raghuram. Rupa Rajesh. Malavika Ramnath. Isabella Diana Rita. Tavis Jahi Reed. Eric Stephen Remaker. Alan Jong Ren. Taylor Ann Reyes. Annabelle Iris Rivera. Joshua Kiel Miguel Rodriguez. Nicholas Alberto Rodriguez. Christopher Thomas Rogers. Mark James Rogers. Miley Rolock. Joshua T. Rosenthal. Samuel Evan Rouser. Taya Marie Riza. Mariela Sáenz. Giselle Salas. Vinay Sama. Alicia Simona Sawyers. Caitlin Marie Schmieder. Emily Dawn Schuster. Shivani Sengutavan. Anna Shabayev. Adit Shah. Tyler Harris Syed Shah. Tiger Shi. Maxwell Edwin Shremek. Megan Renee Smiley. Mackenzie Lynn Smith. Daniel Sohn. Brian Daniel Steimel. Lydia Stone. Catherine Anna Sue. Jeanette Jacqueline Suarez. Mitchell Yi Fong Sun. Ray Sun. Patrick Charles Swearingen. Catherine Lynn Serbinsky. Nicole Angela Tartaglia. Nikolash Kumar Thoda. John A. Vallon. Jacqueline Cecilia Vega. Thomas Stone Wan. Bryce Levi Wang. Livia Marie Wei. Melissa X. Wen. Aspen Rose Wheeler. Jason Ren Wu. Andy Shu. David Lin Shu. Sarah S. Shu. Jason Yang. Franklin Feihu Yi. Tianlin Yuan. Hui-Ron Zhang, McKinney Zhang, Calvin Yang Zhu,
I present the class of 2016.